Welcome to Informational Writing, How to Write a First Draft, Part 1. What is drafting? A draft is the first version of your writing. You can also think of drafting as when a writer takes their ideas and turns them into sentences and paragraphs. Did you know that there are different types of drafting? So let's review them. One of the different types of drafting is a fast draft. A fast draft is when you let your ideas flow. They don't have to be perfect. This is my favorite type of drafting. We did this when we were using a circle map. This is when you just get everything out you know about your topic. In this step, you don't need to worry about sentence structure or spelling or any of those things. You're just thinking about ideas involving your topic. The next type of drafting is a slow draft. This is much more detailed. This is kind of like what we did when we were using a flea map. However, when using this type of drafting, you might want to be careful. A slow draft can also be focused on sentence correctness. However, you're more likely to lose sight of your topic when you worry about this too much. Here are a few tips for drafting. Sentence level correctness can be done later on when you revise, edit, and proofread using a checklist. We are going to do this step together. You can also use brackets in your writing when drafting to add notes of things you would like to add or do later on in your writing. You will see me using this in my writing. Grab your flea map and let's get ready to start your first draft. Let's take a look at today's essential question. How can I write a first draft of my informational book? You will need your flea map for this step. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to grab it. You will need to decide if you want to write your first draft on paper or on the computer. I personally recommend writing it on the computer. This way it will be a lot easier to edit and you won't have to keep rewriting it over and over. So once you've decided whether you're using a computer or paper to write your first draft, let's get started. The area circled in purple is what we're going to start with. So if you're using the computer like I am, you're going to go into Google Docs and you will see that I already started. Just for the interest of time, I already copied over my introduction. And in copying it over, if I noticed that I made a mistake, I went ahead and corrected. Like here, I noticed that I did not use a question mark, so I went ahead and correct that. So you can correct things that you're noticing as you're copying it over onto your Google Docs. The next thing you will need to do is copy over the first sentence for chapter 1. You will see that I copied over my first sentence for chapter 1 and highlighted in yellow. I even added a little bit more to my first sentence because I was feeling inspired on some ideas I wanted to express in this chapter. Next, you will need to copy over your details. You will see that I copied over my details for chapter 1 right here. I left them as like a category within each chapter and I just wrote maybe a sentence or two about each detail. I also use brackets to remind myself when I'm doing my final draft that I need to add a picture of a circle map, fill map, and flea map. So if you want to add pictures, go ahead and add that in a bracket so you'll remember later on. That also keeps you from being distracted when completing your first draft. So you're not browsing the internet looking for a picture. Next, you will need to copy over the first sentence for chapter 2. You will notice that I did the same thing I did for chapter 1. I copied over my first sentence and I left each detail as a topic in my chapter. I also went ahead and added in some transition words because I know this was something I would like to give my reader more information on later on. Copy over your details for chapter 2 if you have not done so already. Next, you need to copy over the first sentence for chapter 2 and also the details, similar to what we did in chapter 1 and chapter 2. So let's take a look at what my draft looks like. So here's chapter 3. I copied over my first sentence right here. I'm not going to make that bold, and I left my details as subtopics in that chapter. And I also use brackets to add in things that I want to add later on, like add a picture of an editing checklist so my reader can use this in their writing. Finally, you will need to copy over your conclusion. This is what it looks like when I copied over my conclusion. I decided I wanted to end my book with wishing my reader happy writing. So you can go ahead and do those changes as you're copying over your conclusion in your chapters. You will also notice that I organized my chapters by color. I figured this would be a lot easier in keeping track of the topics in each chapter, so you can go ahead and do that. You can always change the color when you're ready to print your book. So right now you can see it looks like a rough draft. It is not completed. I'll probably go ahead and add a couple more sentences and add in my pictures, but that's what we're going to work on tomorrow. But if you like, you can go ahead and get a head start on that. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for my next video on finalizing your first draft. Happy writing!